Our focus is on smaller managers because it seems the studies have shown that smaller managers have done better than the big managers.
Sure.
And a lot of the big managers now are giving back capital because they can't invest what they have right now.
Exactly.
More Capital gave back $2 billion.
Nice.
And he's
I think there are a large number of the larger ones have been giving money back. You see, in the last couple of years, we've gotten away, the last several years really, we've gotten away from the original idea that a hedge fund, commodity fund, was really a boutique.
Sure.
Right.
And you had a smallish amount of money and the manager was able to invest advantageously. You would get a superior return because the manager was smarter than the average mutual fund manager, for example, and the results proved it. Now, the difficulty is that if you get funds the size of the retail equivalent of Walmart, but you're paying fees like you're paying prices at Bendel's, then you're going to pay Bendel's prices and get Walmart outcome. Now, that's really not what you want in the investment world. If you have a boutique strategy, you really want to make sure that you have a boutique and the person has a real information edge in being able to produce better results than you can get, say, going to a mutual fund. That's the idea.
I think Julia's 100% right because a large fund has to invest in everything to employ their capital. Just like mutual funds have to be 98% invested, whereas a smaller hedge fund manager or commodity manager, he can pick and choose. And that's very important to go for the best deal that he thinks he can invest in.
Right. So do you speculate that those multi-billion-dollar hedge fund managers or just as managers will give money back and more opportunities for those young hedge fund managers that are starting on
I think it's a discipline. It's very tempting to take money.
Right.
Usually for the first 2-3 years they can't get any money.
Right.
But when they start getting money and have momentum, they take the money in and say, well, I might as well keep taking money in. And they get too big then.
Yeah.
And then the performance generally goes down.
What's the AUM outside under management of the biggest current hedge fund that's out there?
Well, it depends how you define a hedge fund. That was the other thing I was going to say.
Sure.
It's a very, very broad term encompassing all sorts of things from people investing in water or a lot of quite illiquid things, all the way back to the ultimate liquidity, which is in, say, the commodity markets. So it's a term which has been used rather too loosely. But if you define it a little more narrowly by saying a hedge fund is a private investment partnership investing in public markets, those which are liquid, then you get into some hedge funds, depending on the strategy, that are well into 15, 17, 20 billion. And some involving things like currencies and so forth that are very, very liquid can be way bigger than that. 80, 90 billion, depending on how you calculate the amount of money that they're actually managing. A lot of them say they're managing an amount of money, but really a lot of it is notional funds, which actually is the headline number of what they're dealing in rather than the amount of the investor cash that's actually employed at any given time.
Right.
So, with those caveats in mind, I would say for most of the things which the public associates with hedge funds, namely credit, equity, commodities, things like that, certainly it does vary with whatever you're investing in, what the maximum size you can really effectively be. But in the past, anything above 10 billion has certainly been very, very difficult for people to continue making profits. Not that there aren't people that have done that, but what you invariably find with those people is that they're widely diversified in what they're doing to begin with. But secondly, there are some strategies that are used that are not strictly, wouldn't be normally considered hedge fund strategies. So for example, you get a lot of very big funds that are involved in direct lending or something like that, so being part of the shadow banking system